Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji's, Dandavat Pranam. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining on a Saturday morning, auspicious month of Kartik, Damodar month. We will continue studying Canto 7, which is Prahlada's teachings. Last class we talked about chapter 7. This class we're going to read some verses from 5 and 6, which is a little bit earlier to that. It's okay. No, it's not in the order kind of thing, but we will read some very important verses from Canto 7. So if you have Canto 7, please get it. Otherwise, also fine. I will share the screen. And there are very important and very good verses with big purports. So we'll try to read as much as possible. And maybe, if we are not finished, we'll also continue in the next session whenever we get a chance. So we'll start with the bhajan to get in the mood of this. So I'll share my screen.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. As you all know, our Shiksha Guru, His Grace Leelanand Prabhuji's father, His Grace Namkesha Prabhuji, is in the hospital after suffering brain hemorrhage, and he is doing better. And thank you for all your prayers, and we'll continue to pray for him. And in that mood, we are singing this bhajan today to beg for the mercy of the Lord, and safely we all pray for Prabhuji's recovery very fast, and we wish and pray that he gets home to his family safe and sound. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya karo more. Tum bina ke dayalu jagat samsare.
तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे.
पतिता पावना है तू तव अवतारा.
पतिता पावना है तू तव अवतारा.
मोसमा पतिता प्रभु न पैबे आरा.
मोसमा पतिता प्रभु न पैबे आरा.
आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी.
आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी.
कृपा बालोकाना करो आमी बोरो दुखी.
कृपा बालोकाना करो आमी बोरो दुखी.
कर सीतापति अद्वैता गोसाई.
दया कर सीतापति अद्वैता गोसाई.
तव कृपा बले पाय चैतन्य निताय.
तव कृपा बले पाय चैतन्य निताय.
गौर प्रेम माया तनु पंडिता गदाधरा.
गौर प्रेम माया तनु Pandita Gadadhara
Srinivasa Hari Dasa Duyara Sagara
Srinivasa Hari Dasa Doyara Sagara
Aha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha
Aha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha
Bhatta Juga Sri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Bhatta Juga Sri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Dakora Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa
Daya Koro Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Ramachandra Sangha Mage Narottamagasa
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More
Tuma bina ki dayalu jagat samsare
Tuma bina ke dayalo jagat sansare
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kara More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Kora More
Tuma bina ke dayalu jagat samsare
तुम बिना को दयालु जगत संसारे Hare Krishna. Prabhuji Mataji, can somebody read the translation, please?
Yes, Prabhu. 1, 2, I'll read. Okay.
Yes.
My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Second one, your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen souls than me. Therefore, my claim is first.
Can somebody else read 3 and 4?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Please.
My dear Lord Nityanand, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Nityanand will also be kind to me. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Somebody else, 5, 6, 7.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Gaura's love embodiment is shown by Gadadhara Pandita. Srinivasa Pandita and Haridasa Thakura are the ocean of mercy. 6. O Swarupa Damodara, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya. O 6 Goswamis. O Sri Rupa Goswami. O Sri Sanatana Goswami. Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami. Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. Sri Jiva Goswami and Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. O Lokanatha Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottama Dasa, also praise for your mercy. 7. O Srinivasa Acharya, successor to the 6 Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottama Dasa always desires the company of Ramachandra Chakravarti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Mataji started reading the translation. It's a beautiful song written by Narottam Das Thakur, and he's praising all the 6 Goswamis and their disciples and also his guru Loknath Goswami in this prayer. Thank you. Let's do the Mangalacharan prayers before we start studying scriptures. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupam Agrajatam Sahagana Dhanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrutyam Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankaja Nabhaya Namah Pankaja Maline Namah Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankajangre Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauradvishe Namaha Namo Brahmanyaya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Apavitra Pavitro Va Sarvavastangatopi Va Smaret Pundarikaksham Sabhahyam Bhyantarsaji Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Om Mukam Karvati Vachalam Pangam Langhayate Girim Yatkrupa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji Mataji, for joining today. We are going to read few verses from Canto 7, Chapter 5. And Canto 7 is one of the most important cantos that everybody must read. And it mainly talks about Prahlad Maharaj's teachings about Hiranyakashipu's, how Hiranyakashipu has become a demon, and Prahlad Maharaj's birth, and how Narada Mahamuni has given him his knowledge in the womb itself. And beautiful teachings by Prahlad Maharaj at the age of 5. And as I said in the last class itself, everyone should get this knowledge from the childhood itself, from 5-year-old themselves, and take this knowledge and take it forward. And Prahlad Maharaj clearly explains this in throughout this canto in multiple chapters. to his classmates in the Gurukul. Today we're going to read some verses from 5 and 6, as many as possible. There are big purports for some of these verses and very important. Srila Prabhupada has written beautiful purports for lots of these verses. So to give the background, just to set the background and tell the little bit of story before we start the class, for the people who might have known or might not have known. So the story starts here. The 4 Kumaras, they wanted to see Lord Vishnu, and they go to Vaikuntha, and they're all small boys, and they've been stopped by Jaya and Vijaya at the entrance, and they get angry and curse Jaya and Vijaya to become demons in the next. So they give a choice of becoming demons for 3 lifetimes and come back to back to Godhead, or be devotees for like 7 or 8 lifetimes. So they choose to be demons because they really want to eagerly come back to serving the Lord. So they take 3 lives. In one life they become Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. The second life they become Shishupala and Dantavaktra, and the third life they become Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And in all 3 lifetimes, Lord descends, and then he fights with them, and then he kills all of them. And of course they come back. That is the background story. But so that's how so the before story of this canto is Hiranyaksha, because Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha are brothers. Hiranyaksha being killed by Lord Varaha, and everybody is lamenting that Hiranyaksha dies. And an interesting thing happens in this chapter, that Hiranyakashipu, after the death of Hiranyaksha, consoles his family members, saying that it's almost that chapter. If you read that chapter, it almost sounds like chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, because he gives the Sankhya Yoga in this chapter again. He says that he gives details of the soul and the body, why we should not lament about the body, and things like that. So such a demonic person also has a great knowledge of the soul and the body, and then he pacifies his family members that don't lament for him, don't lament because his soul is eternal. And then then he wants to take revenge on Lord Vishnu, and then he goes and does severe penances for Lord Brahma, and the penance is so severe that fire emanates from his skull, and it kind of burns the top 7 lokas and bottom 7 lokas. And Brahma appears, and the dharma of demigods is, whenever you do any penance, they appear in front of you and they have to give a boon to you. So Brahma asks, what do you want? And he asks for immortality, and Brahma says, I can't do that. Nobody is immortal, and everybody who take birth has to die. You can choose something else. And Hiranyakashipu thinks, I am very clever, and he chooses that he cannot be killed by a man or a human being or an animal, nor inside nor outside, nor out, up or nor down, neither in the day nor in the night. Like that, he puts a lot of insurance policies, thinking that nobody can kill him. But as you know, Lord Narasimha appeared exactly, violating all the rules, and then the story in a brief. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji Mataji, can you mute? Not speaking. It will be great. Everybody can hear. Thank you very much. So that's the background story. And
Prabhuji, koncham sound, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. It's fine now. I think somebody is unmuted and everybody is muted now. Okay.
Yeah, can you increase some sound is what he is saying, Prabhu.
Sound is maximum, Prabhu. Can you hear properly, Sabara Prabhu?
Yeah, I think
Prabhuji, can you check your volume side?
Maheshwar Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Please mute yourself. You're not speaking because we're not able to. There's a background noise, Prabhu. Okay, thank you. So the last class, I don't know whether you have attended, but we talked about Prahlad Maharaj and his glories and how he's born. So what happens is when Hiranyakashipu when Hiranyakashipu goes for penances, he leaves the kingdom, all by kingdom alone, and then that's the time that the demigods think to attack back, because Hiranyakashipu's atrocities they cannot bear anymore, and they really wanted to get rid of him. So they attack his kingdom when he goes on for penances and tapasya in the forests. And they really, just like, there is nobody there, there's no Hiranyakashipu really, fight with them. So they really attacks and then occupies the whole of his kingdom. And at the end, Lord Indra captures Kayadu, who is the wife of Hiranyakashipu. And that time she's carrying, and he's almost about to kill her because he doesn't want anybody to be alive in the kingdom. Then Narada Mahamuni appears, and then he says to Lord Indra that don't kill Kayadu because she's pregnant. And Indra says, no, I don't want any heirs, anybody else in his family succession to be troubling us. So Narada Mahamuni says, no. The one that is growing in the womb is the Mahabhagavata. He doesn't trouble you. Will be a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. So don't kill him. And Indra accepts and agrees. And then along with all the demigods, they do circumambulate Kayadu and they leave that place. And Narada takes care of Kayadu and takes her to his hermitage, his ashram, and gives shelter. At that time, Narada Mahamuni imparts, the lot of knowledge, wisdom, Vedic knowledge to Kayadu. And while Kayadu, couldn't get all the knowledge, but within the womb, Prahlad Maharaj hears all the knowledge, and that's how he gets all the knowledge. Because when he goes to school, his schoolmates ask, because when he starts preaching them, he says, how did you get all this knowledge? We are all going to the same school, at the same time, how did you else get this knowledge? And he explains all the people how he got the knowledge through Narada Mahamuni, which is his spiritual master, while he's in the womb. And they ask him, how did you remember all that? He says, I practice, I study, and I remember, as I preach you. So, we talked about that, how we should remember during preaching applications, right? We have to study, we have to contemplate, we have to preach. Only then you remember also. So similarly, Prahlad Maharaj says, I remember all those things. So he gets all the knowledge, and he doesn't even know who is speaking when he's in the womb, but he takes it for granted that this is a Vedic knowledge coming to me, and he accepts it. And then he tells all the classmates that you're wasting time when they start playing and all this. He says you're wasting time. The whole world, the life is very short, and the human life is very, very precious. You should not use it to play and goof around. You should really start learning this knowledge and pray and serve the Lord, Supreme Lord. And he gives all this knowledge to them one by one. So after that, this is the last class, but I'm going to go a little bit backwards now, and then talk about the conversation between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj. It's the first time, right? So Hiranyakashipu, when he came back, right, Kayadu delivered Prahlad Maharaj, and he's so happy, and he puts him in Gurukul, and he goes to Gurukul. And then once Prahlad Maharaj comes back from Gurukul, and just like a fatherly affection, Hiranyakashipu takes him on his lap, and he asks a question. So tell me, what did you learn in the school? And that's when the responses start coming, and we're going to read those things. And it happens 3 times. Once it happens, and he asks a question, and Prahlad Maharaj says, the Supreme Lord is Vishnu, and we should all serve him. And he gets very angry, and he calls the teachers, Chanda and Amarka, and says, what are you guys doing? What are you teaching him? They're all demonic teachers. They only teach that Hiranyakashipu is the great. Everybody should pray to him. All the praises and everything is for him, not for other people, especially Vishnu, because he is their staunch enemy. And they go back and reprimand Prahlad Maharaj. Where are you learning all these things? We are not teaching you any of those things. Why are you telling these things, which is about Vishnu to your father and making him angry? And then they teach him, and then says, no, you have to learn whatever we teach. And after some time, after a few years, after a few months, again, Prahlad Maharaj goes. And then because Hiranyakashipu wanted to test him again and ask him, what did you learn? Again, Prahlad Maharaj starts the same thing. And he gets really angry that time. And he just throws him out of his lap. And, he really reprimands Chandamarka again. And he said, you can't do anything. So he starts making plans to kill Prahlad Maharaj, right? He says, put him under, running elephants, throw him into a pit of snakes, throw him from a cliff. So many things he does, but every time there is Lord Vishnu to save him. So Prahlad Maharaj is not afraid at all. And you can see the mindset of Prahlad Maharaj, being a small boy in a house where your father is plotting to kill you every minute, right? And then even in those circumstances, he never forgot Krishna and Vishnu, and always, remembered Krishna, and he always continued to understand, continue to pray to Krishna, and continue to, tell his classmates the same knowledge again, and he tells it to same knowledge to his father as well. So with that, let's start and start reading some verses. Let's read 7.5.5. I'll open the base here. Okay. This is the first time Prahlad Maharaj is coming and talking to his father. Sri Prahlada Uvacha Tat Sadhu Manye Asura Varya Dehinam Sada Samudvigna Dhiyam Asadgrahat Hivatma Patam Gruhamandha Kupam Vanam Gato Yadhiram Ashrayeta. Translation by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the previous verse is the question that Hiranyakashipu asks. What did you learn, my dear son? Please tell. So Prahlad Maharaj is answering. Prahlad Maharaj replied, O best of the Asuras, king of demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavana, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent and should thus take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So clear and concise in his thought process. And this is directed to his father. He's telling, oh father, who best of Asuras and king of demons, I learned from my spiritual master, who is Narada. And he's telling, we all accepted this temporary body, temporary household, everything's temporary. And, all these anxieties we have, and that's because we are in, Gruham Andakupam. We are in a house that is a dark well, and we are just thrown into it. And what he's telling, to get out of this well, the only way is to be Krishna consciousness. And especially when you are in a higher age, like Hiranyakashipu, go to a Vana, like Vrindavan, and meditate on Krishna. So the two meanings to this. One is like, literally go to a dham called Vrindavana and stay there. Or it can be, right, think about Vrindavana all the time and meditate on it and, kind of get rid of all the material connections. So let's read the purport. Can somebody read the first paragraph, please? We'll read one after the other.
Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranam to all of you.
Hare Krishna.
One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently.
Prabhuji, there is one paragraph before that. Hiranyakashipu thought that one.
Oh, sorry. Hiranyakashipu thought that Prahlada, being nothing but a small boy with no actual experience, might reply with something pleasing but nothing practical. Prahlada Maharaja, however, being an exalted devotee, had acquired all the qualities of education. One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently manifests all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods. However, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications, because he is engaged by mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. So-called educated philosophers and scientists who are simply on the mental platform cannot distinguish between what is actually Sat, eternal, and what is Asat, temporary. The Vedic injunction is Asato ma Jyotirgama. Everyone should give up the platform of temporary existence and approach the eternal platform. The soul is eternal, and topics concerning the eternal soul are actually knowledge. Elsewhere, it is said, Apasyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Graha Medinam. Those who are attached to the bodily conception of life and who thus stick to life as a grihastha or a householder on the platform of material sense enjoyment cannot see the welfare of the eternal soul. Prahlada Maharaja confirmed this by saying that if one wants success in life, he should immediately understand from the right sources what his self-interest is and how he should mold his life in spiritual consciousness. One should understand himself to be part and parcel of Krishna and thus completely take shelter of his lotus feet for guaranteed spiritual success. Everyone in the material world is in the bodily conception, struggling hard for existence, life after life. Prahlada Maharaja therefore recommended that to stop this material condition of repeated birth and death, one should go to the forest, Vana.
Thank
In
you,
the
Prabhuji.
Varnashrama
Thank you,
system-
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Let's
Hare Krishna.
we'll have somebody else read it. Thank you. So it's very clear from Prahlad Maharaj's explanation that he's preaching his father. He is telling his father, "Oh, father, you are you're in the material world and you are not realizing that Grahamandha Kupam, you are in a dark well, and you have all the anxieties because you are here." And he's telling the nice phrase that is used by Prabhupada is Asatoma Jyotirgamaya. Go towards from temporary world, go towards the Jyoti, the eternal platform, right? The Brahman platform. And he says, right, we're all Grahamedis. He also says we're all Grahamedis. We're just simply rotating in this world and with material sense enjoyment, and we cannot see the eternal soul's path. So, and at the end, he recommends, to stop the material conditions of repeated birth and death, one should go to Vana, forest. Let's read the next paragraph. Somebody else can read the next paragraph, please.
Let me read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
In the Varnashrama system, one first becomes a brahmachari, then grihastha, a vanaprastha, and finally a sannyasi. Going to the forest means accepting vanaprastha life, which has been grihastha life and sannyasa. As confirmed in the Vishnu Purana 3.8.9, Varnashrama charavata purushena para puman Vishnur aratyate. By accepting the institution of Varna and Ashrama, one can very easily elevate himself to the platform of worshipping Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, if one remains in the bodily conception, one must rot within this material world, and his life will be failure. Society must have divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And for spiritual advancement, one must gradually develop as a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasi. Prahlad Maharaj recommended that his father accept vanaprastha life because as a grihastha, he was becoming increasingly demoniac due to bodily attachment. Prahlad recommended to his father that accepting vanaprastha life would be better than going deeper and deeper into Duha Andhakupam, the blind well of life as a grihastha. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore invite all the elderly persons in the world to Vrindavana and stay there in retired life, making advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Haribol. Haribol. Thank you, Prabhuji. So it's very self-explanatory. So we'll go to the next verse. The next verse I want to take is the next time again when Hiranyakashipu calls upon Prahlad, because after this verse the story goes like this. He calls Chanda and Amarkand, scolds them. what are you teaching my son? You know, in the Gurukul, you know, that he's talking about this kind of knowledge and talking about Vishnu and Krishna. Please take him back and teach him the right knowledge, which is whatever, you know, he doesn't want anything related to Vishnu. So they take him back and scolds him and tries to put him in the straight line and gives him that knowledge. But Prahlad Maharaj already knows that's all like, you know, useless. So again, Hiranyakashipu calls upon him and asks him, okay, what did you learn? And look at this, and this is the, you know, this is the most important verse we all know. With the Prahlad Maharaj explains about Navavida Bhakti and how to progress in, you know, in Krishna consciousness. So let's read this 23 and 24. Share the screen. Shri Prahlada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktai Jena Navalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavati Adha Tanmanye Dhitamuttamam. Translation. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy names, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering Lord's one's best friend, and surrendering everything into him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. So this is the Navaveda Bhakti explained by Prahlad Maharaj. The Navaveda Bhakti we keep reading and studying came from Prahlad Maharaj. And what was Navaveda Bhakti? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. These 9. And this purport is the purport that explains each of them in detail, into that kind of detail that, you know, Srila Prabhupada explains what are the rules and regulations when you even do deity worship, what you should do, what you should not do. So we'll read as much as possible because it's a very large purport, but I think good that we read it because this is the time we read it. Can somebody start reading the first paragraph, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prahlad Maharaja was asked by his father to say something from whatever he had learned. He considered that what he had learned from his spiritual master was the best of all teachings, whereas what he had learned about diplomacy from his material teachers Sanda and Amarka was useless. Bhakti Parameswaro Paresanubhavo Viraktir Anyatra cha. This is the symptom of pure devotional service. A pure devotee is interested only in devotional service, not in material affairs. To execute devotional service, one should always engage in hearing and chanting about Krishna or Lord Vishnu. The process of temple worship is called Archana. How to perform Archana will be explained herein. One should have complete faith in the words of Krishna, who says that he is the great well-wishing friend of everyone. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. A devotee considers Krishna the only friend. This is called Sakyam. Pumsarpita Vishnu. The word Pumsa means by all living entities. There is no distinctions between only a man or only a Brahmana to offer devotional service to the Lord. Everyone can do so. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.32, Striyo Vaishyas Tata Sudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Although women, Vaishyas and Sudras are considered less intelligent, they also can become devotees and return home back to Godhead.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. So in this, again, as I said, right, they took Prahlada back and taught him some diplomatic and science and social kind of things. And Prahlada comes back and tells, the only way, is to get out of this place is to have devotional service towards the Lord. and he explains the 9 processes of bhakti to his father. And those are explained very clearly in this purport. Can somebody read the next paragraph? Next.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
After performing sacrifices, sometimes a person engaged in fruitive activity customarily offers the results to Vishnu. But here it is said, Bhagavati Adha. One must directly offer everything to Vishnu. This is called sannyasa, not merely nyasa. A tridandin sannyasi carries 3 dandas, signifying kaya mano vakya, body, mind, and words. All of these should be offered to Vishnu, and then one can begin devotional service. Fruitive workers first perform some pious activities and then formally or officially offer the results to Vishnu. The real devotee, however, first offers his surrender to Krishna with his body, mind, and words, then uses his body, mind, and words for the service of Krishna as Krishna desires.
Very bold. Thank you, Prabhuji. Somebody else can read the next paragraph.
Shall I read, Praveen?
Yes, please. Yes, Padmanti, please.
Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura gives the following explanation in his Tatya. The word Shravana refers to giving oral reception to the holy name and descriptions of the Lord's form, qualities, entourage, and pastimes as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar authorized scriptures. After orally receiving such messages, one should memorize these vibrations and repeat them. That is Kirtanam. Smaranam means trying to understand more and more about the Supreme Lord, and Padasevanam means engaging oneself in serving the lotus feet of the Lord according to the time and circumstances. Archanam means worshipping Lord Vishnu as one does in temple, and Vandanam means offering respectful obeisances. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Vandanam means namaskuru, offering obeisances to or offering prayers. Thinking oneself to be Nitya Krishna Dasa, everlasting servant of Krishna, is called Dasyam. And Sakhyam means being a well-wisher of Krishna. Krishna wants everyone surrender unto him because everyone is constitutionally his servant. Therefore, as a sincere friend of Krishna, one should preach this philosophy, requesting everyone to surrender unto Krishna. Atmanivedanam means offering Krishna everything, including one's body, mind, intelligence, and whatever one may possess. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Auntie. So this paragraph explains a little briefly on each of these Navada Bhakti, but following paragraph have more details about each of them. And it starts from Shravanam, of course, and then ends with Atmanivedanam, which is like the highest Bhakti form where you offer everything to Lord Krishna. Next paragraph, somebody else please can read.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
One's sincere endeavor to perform these 9 processes of devotional service is technically called bhakti. The word adha means directly. One should not be like the karmis who perform pious activities and then formally offer the results to Krishna. That is karma kanda. One should not aspire for the results of his pious activities, but should dedicate oneself fully and then act piously. In other words, one should act for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu, not for the satisfaction of his own senses. That is the meaning of the word adha, directly. Anya vilashita sunyam jnana karma jnana vratam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. One should simply satisfy Krishna without being influenced by fruitive knowledge or fruitive activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So this is also self-explanatory. Let's move on to the next paragraph, please. Anybody else can read it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes.
The Gopala Tapani Upanishad says that the word bhakti means engagement in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not of anyone else. This Upanishad describes that bhakti is the offering of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To perform devotional service, one should be relieved of the bodily conception of life and aspirations to be happy through elevation to the higher planetary systems. In other words, performed simply for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord without any desire for material benefits is called bhakti. Bhakti is also called nishkarma or freedom from the results of fruitive activity. Bhakti and nishkarma are on the same platform, although devotional service and fruitive activity appear almost the same. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you can continue the next one because we'll start Shravanam afterwards.
Okay, Prabhuji. The 9 different processes enunciated by Prahlad Maharaj, who learned them from Narada Muni, may not all be required for the execution of devotional service. If a devotee performs only one of these 9 without deviation, he can take the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes it is found that when one performs one of the processes, other processes are mixed with it. That is not improper for a devotee. When a devotee executes any one of the 9 processes, Navalakshana, this is sufficient. The other 8 processes are included. Now let us discuss these 9 different processes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So this is so nice. I didn't know this actually. So now there are Navaveda Bhakti, and Prabhupada says that you can exhibit any one of them and others are included. So at least we should start with one, like Shravanam, right? We're already doing a lot of those things. So we should continue. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And all the others are included. So very nice. Okay, let's next somebody can read about Shravanam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I read?
Please.
First one, Shravanam. Hearing of the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam, is the beginning of devotional service. Although any one of the 9 processes is sufficient, in chronological order, the hearing of the holy name of the Lord is the beginning. Indeed, it is essential. As enunciated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is cleansed of the material conception of life, which is due to the dirty modes of material nature. When the dirt is cleansed from the core of one's heart, one can realize the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. Thus, by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one comes to the platform of understanding the personal form of the Lord. After realizing the Lord's form, one can realize the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And when one can understand his transcendental qualities, one can understand the Lord's associates. In this way, a devotee advances further and further towards complete understanding of the Lord as he awakens in realization of the Lord's holy name. Transcendental form and qualities is paraphernalia and everything pertaining to him. Therefore, the chronological process is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. This same process of chronological understanding holds true in chanting and remembering. When the chanting of the holy name, form, qualities, and paraphernalia is heard from the mouth of a pure devotee, his hearing and chanting are very pleasing. Srila Sanatana Goswami has forbidden us to hear the chanting of an artificial devotee or non-devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So it's nicely explained here why Shravanam is the first, part of the Navaveda Bhakti. The way to understand Krishna, the way that Prema Bhakti awakens in us is when you hear about somebody, right? The more you know about somebody, the more closer you get to somebody. So in this paragraph, Prahlad Maharaj explains that, Shravanam is the most important, the most fundamental thing, where we should constantly hear about the glories of the Lord. And then that is explained also in Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam yom, which says that, whoever knows my transcendental pastimes, is the one that, will be liberated and comes back to me. So we need to know more about Lord. And how do we know more about the Lord? By hearing. By hearing, and from whom? Only from devotees. Only from devotees. So the more and more you hear, every day you should hear lectures. You should hear more and more lectures of Maharajas, whatever is forwarded in the in the WhatsApp groups, or even if you go to YouTube, so you can hear good lectures from Maharajas and devotees. Katha, Krishna Katha, you should hear every day. That's the first thing. That means you're engaging your ears, like to hear more. Then comes Kirtanam. That's the order where Prahlad Maharaj said, right? Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Then comes Kirtanam. Once you hear about him, and then you start singing about him, you start reading about him, you start praising about him. So that's Kirtanam. You be part of the Kirtan. You chant Hare Krishna mantra. The japa is your Kirtan. One of the japa that you do every day is one of the Kirtans that you do. Or you're part of a Kirtan songs that you sing, bhajans and Kirtans. And then comes Vishnu Smaranam. Then you contemplate. Then you remember Krishna. Because you are constantly hearing and then constantly singing the glories. Whatever you do, automatically you are pulled towards remembering Krishna. Like whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you continue to do in the day, or day-to-day activities, you remember Vishnu. That is Vishnu Smaranam. So that is the stepping stones, like as you call 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 things. Can somebody read the next paragraph, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, please. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hearing from the text of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered the most important process of hearing. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of transcendental chanting of the holy name, and therefore the chanting and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam are transcendentally full of mellows. The transcendental holy name of the Lord may be heard and chanted accordingly to the attraction of the devotee. One may chant the holy name of Lord Krishna, or one may chant the holy name of Lord Rama or Narsimhadev, Ramadi Murtisu Kala Niyamena Tistham. The Lord has innumerable forms and names, and devotees may meditate upon a particular form and chant the holy name according to his attraction. The best course is to hear the holy name, form, and so on from the pure devotee of the same standard as oneself. In other words, one who is attached to Krishna should chant and hear from other pure devotees who are also attached to Lord Krishna. The same principle applies for devotees attracted by Lord Rama, Lord Narsimha, and other forms of the Lord. Because Krishna is the ultimate form of the Lord, Krishna tu Bhagavam Swayam is the best to hear about Lord Krishna's name, form, and pastime from the realized devotee who is particularly attracted by the form of Lord Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, great devotees like Sukadev Goswami have specifically described Lord Krishna's holy name, form, and qualities. Unless one hears about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord, one cannot clearly understand the other processes of devotional service. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that one chant the holy name of Krishna, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. If one is fortunate enough to hear from the mouth of realized devotees, he is very easily successful on the path of devotional service. Therefore, hearing of the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord is essential. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So it's very self-explanatory. Hearing is the most important part. That's what is explained by Srila Prabhupada, that everybody must hear Srimad Bhagavatam from an exalted devotee, a pure devotee. So please make it a habit to hear every day, at least for half an hour Krishna Katha. There are so many options available. Please continue doing that. Somebody else can read the Prabhuji. You can finish this Stravanam. There is one more paragraph. Maybe you can finish this.
Sure, Prabhuji. I'll continue. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.11, there is this verse: Tadvag Vishagro Jagatagra Viplavo Yasmin Prati Slokam Abadhvati Api Namani Anantasya Yasho Kitani Yat Shravanti Gayanti Grananti Shadva. Verses describing the name, form, and qualities of Anantadev, the unlimited Supreme Lord, are able to vanquish all the sinful reaction of the entire world. Therefore, even if such verses are improperly composed, devotees hear them, describe them, and accept them as bona fide and authorized. In this connection, Sridhara Swami has remarked that a pure devotee takes advantage of another pure devotee by trying to hear from him about the holy name, form, and qualities of the Lord. If there is no such opportunity, he alone chants and hears the Lord's holy name. Hare
Right.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. So, no, that's why Prabhupada has set the morning program in such a way that, everybody will attend the Bhagavatam class and hears for sure for 1 hour Srimad Bhagavatam. And one more point that is made here is if somebody don't have that opportunity, he says you can chant and hear the Lord's name by himself. Let's go to Kirtanam. Somebody can read started in the Kirtanam.
I will do, Prabhu. Can I do?
Yes, Barabar, please go ahead.
Number 2, Kirtanam. The hearing of the holy name has been described above. Now let's try to understand the chanting of the holy name, which is the second item in consecutive order. It is recommended that such chanting be performed very loudly. In Bhagavatam, Narada Muni says that without shame, he began traveling all over the world, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised, Tranadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahisunanam Amanena Manadena Akirtaneye Sadahari. A devotee can peacefully chant the holy name of the Lord by behaving more humbly than the grass, being tolerant like a tree, and offering respects to everyone without expecting honor from anyone else. Such qualifications make it easier to chant the holy name of the Lord. The process of transcendental chanting can be easily performed by anyone. Even if one is physically unfit, classified lower than others, devoid of material qualifications, are not at all elevated in terms of pious activities, the chanting of the holy name is beneficial. An aristocratic birth, an advanced education, beautiful bodily features, wealth, and similar results of pious activities are all unnecessary for advancement in spiritual life. For one can very easily advance simply by chanting the holy name. It is understood from the authoritative source of Vedic literature that especially in the age of Kali Yuga, people are generally short-living, extremely bad in their habits, and inclined to accept methods of devotional service that are not bona fide. Moreover, they are always disturbed by material conditions, and they are mostly unfortunate. Under the circumstances, the performance of other processes such as Yajna, Dhana, Tapa, and Kriya, sacrifices, charity, and so on, are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended Harinama, Harinama, Harinamaiva Kevalam, Harinamaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva Eva, Nasteva Gatir Anyata. In the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one advances perfectly in spiritual life. This is the best process of success in life. In other ages, the chanting of the holy name is equally powerful, but especially in this Kali Yuga, it is most powerful. Kirtanat Eva Krishna Isa Mukta Sangha Param Rijat. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is liberated and returns home back to the Godhead. Therefore, even if one is able to perform other process of devotional service, one must adopt the chanting of the holy name as principal method of advancing in spiritual life. Yajna Sankirtana Prayer Yajnatihi Sumedhesha. Those who are very sharp in their intelligence should adopt this process of chanting the holy name of the Lord. One should not, however, manufacture different types of chanting. One should adhere seriously to the chanting of the holy names as recommended in the scriptures. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, continue, Prabhuji, because we should. Oh, there's so much. Yeah, you can continue this Kirtanam thing.
Right. While chanting the holy name of the Lord, one should be careful to avoid 10 offenses. From Sankat Kumara, it's understood that even if a person is a severe offender in many ways, he is freed from the offenses of life if he takes shelter of the Lord's holy names. Indeed, even if a human being is not better than a two-legged animal, he will be liberated if he takes shelter of the holy names of the Lord. One should therefore be very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord's holy name. The offenses are described as follows: to blaspheme a devotee, especially a devotee engaged in broadcasting the glories of the holy name, to consider the name of Lord Shiva or any other demigod to be equally as powerful as the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to Supreme Personality of the Godhead, nor is anyone superior to him. To disobey the instructions of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures and literatures compiled in pursuance of the Vedic literature. Next, to comment that the glories of the holy name of the Lord are exaggerated. To interpret the holy name in a different way. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. To compare the chanting of the holy name to pious activities. To instruct glories of the holy name to a person who has no understanding of the chanting of the holy name, not to awaken a transcendental attachment for chanting of the holy name, even after hearing all these scriptural injunctions. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, continue, Prabhu.
There is no way to atone for any of these offenses. It is therefore recommended that an offender at the feet of the holy name continues to chant the holy name 24 hours a day. Constant chanting of the holy name will make one free of offenses, and then he will gradually be elevated to the transcendental platform on which he can chant the pure holy name and thus become the lover of Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is recommended that even if one commits offenses, one should continue chanting the holy name. In other words, the chanting of the holy name makes one offenseless. In the book Nama Kaumudi, it is recommended that if one is an offender at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava, he should submit to the Vaishnava and be excused. Similarly, if one is an offender in chanting the holy name, he should submit to the holy name and thus be freed from his offenses. In this connection, there is the following statement spoken by Daksha to Lord Shiva. I did not know the glories of your personality, and therefore I committed an offense at your lotus feet in the open assembly. You are so kind, however, that you did not accept my offense. Instead, when I was falling down because of accusing you, you saved me by your merciful grace. You are the most great, you are most great. Kindly excuse me and be satisfied with your own exalted qualities. One should be very humble and meek to offer one's desires and chant prayers composed in glorification of the holy name, such as I am Mukta Kulayar, Upasya Manam, and Nivrita Tarsir Upagi Yamanan. One should chant such prayers to become free from offenses at the lotus feet of the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So Kirtanam is such a profound bhakti path that is given to us, and it is very clearly explained in this section, right? How you should chant. First point is how you should chant. You should chant in a mood of humbleness, right? You know, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Pranatipi sunichena tarorapi sahi amani namanadiyana kirtaneya sadahari." Please mute if you are not speaking. Thank you. So the mood of chanting should be as humble as a blade of grass, as tolerant as a tree, and that's the mood we should really chant, and that's very important. And chanting is also included in the deity program, right? You know, we know that we are starting this morning program with Mangalarti, and after that we chant all our 16 rounds very attentively. So chanting of the name means like you are calling Krishna. The moment you say Hare Krishna, you know, you should imagine that Krishna is coming, you know, in front of you. And with that kind of attentiveness, with that kind of profound, on river to Krishna, you should chant. And they should chant very clearly and loudly so that you can hear your own words. And every syllable has to be pronounced very clearly. And it has to be like, spaced and nicely done. You know, of course, I am also having a lot of anartha I also don't chant properly, but I'm telling to myself. And please be very attentive during chanting. It's very important. That's the only time we spend, in this bhakti process of kirtanam, which is chanting of holy names. It's very, very important that is given to us. It's a medicine for all of us. And it is told in Kali Yuga, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, kalau nasteva, nasteva gatirin. There is no other way, no other way, no other way in Kali Yuga other than chanting the holy name of the Lord, which is, we are so fortunate to get this Hare Krishna mantra from the merciful Lord Chaitanya, and the process of chanting every day is given by Srila Prabhupada. So we should definitely use it the fullest extent and continue our journey. And it is also explained the 10 offenses of chanting the holy name, which we read every day during the Mangalarti. It's very important to guard against the offenses. And the most, most dangerous offense is blaspheming a devotee. I have other Vaishnava, which is explained very clearly here. That is the most dangerous offense. Everybody should guard against. And if you feel that your chanting is not going well, your day-to-day sadhana is not going well, 100% it is because you might have offended a Vaishnava. You should remember who it is and then ask for forgiveness. Just like how it is explained in the story when Daksha offended Shiva, who is the Vaishnavanam Yathasambho, is the topmost Vaishnava. He offended him in the open assembly, and then after that he realized his offense and begged for forgiveness, and Shiva forgive him for his offense. And there are other offenses, right? Very important offenses that we should guard against. We're attentively chanting. First of all, first offense is blasphemy Devotee. Very, very important. We should never do that. And considering Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to Lord Krishna. That's very second one. And should disobey the instruction of spiritual master. Spiritual master, everybody should have one, and you should aspire one. And once you have a spiritual master, you should completely surrender to him and take his instructions. And blaspheming the Vedic literatures, or any literatures compiled in pursuance of Vedic literatures, that's another offense. And the comment on the glories of holy name as exaggeration, right? There are other offenses that should really guard against. And the final offense, that is like you should be really attentive while chanting. You should never be unattentive, right? Dozing off and then doing some work with a second hand. Those kind of things are really, really bad. It's like you're inviting Krishna to your home and you're doing your work and not even paying attention to him. It is like that. So you should really guard against his offenses and continue your chanting very nicely. Okay, let's go to the Smaranam. Can somebody read the Smaranam paragraph, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Smaranam. After one regularly performs the processes of hearing and chanting, and after the core of one's heart is cleansed, Smaranam, remembering is recommended. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.11, Sukadeva Goswami tells King Parikshit, Eta nirvidya mananam ichatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripa ninnitam harer namanukirtanam. O king, for great yogis who have completely renounced all material connections, for those who desire all material enjoyment, and for those who are satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended. According to different relationships with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are varieties of Namanukirtanam, chanting of the holy name. And thus, according to different relationships and mellows, there are 5 kinds of remembering. These are as follows: conducting research into the worship of a particular form of the Lord, concentrating the mind on one subject and withdrawing the mind's activities of thinking, feeling, and willing from all other subjects, concentrating upon a particular form of the Lord. This is called meditation. Concentrating one's mind continuously on the form of the Lord. This is called Dhruvanusmriti, or perfect meditation. And awakening a liking for concentration upon a particular form. This is called Samadhi, or trance. Mental concentration upon particular pastimes of the Lord in particular circumstances is also called remembrance. Therefore, Samadhi trance can be possible in 5 different ways in terms of one's relationship. Specifically, the trance of devotees on the stage of neutrality is called mental concentration.
Thank you, Mataji. So in this paragraph, the Sparanam, remembering is recommended. After you do Shravanam and Kirtanam, the next part is Smaranam, which is remembering the Lord. And that is more important, and that is the next step that you automatically get into. And there are 5 stages, 5 kinds of remembering that is explained here. Worship, conducting a research into worship of particular form. Right now, you take a particular form and then you do more you dig deep into that and then focus on that, and concentrating one mind in subject and without. So basically, it's mind being focusing on one activity of doing worship to the Lord and retracting other from other subjects. And simply put, you are thinking of Lord all the time. Bhakti is defined as, and surrender is defined as always remembering Krishna, never forget Krishna. So if we all can remember Krishna all the time, whatever activities we are doing, like say buying vegetables, fruits, thinking about Krishna, while cooking, remembering Krishna and thinking about Krishna, while doing any activity, thinking about Krishna, that is Smaranam, always remembering Krishna. That's the simplest possible thing we can all do, is remembering Krishna all the time. So next paragraph, can somebody else read Padasevanam, please?
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji. Please.
Fourth, Padasevanam. According to one's taste and strength, hearing, chanting, remembrance may be followed by Padasevanam. One obtains the platform of remembering when one constantly thinks of lotus feet of the Lord. Being intentionally attached to the thinking of Lord's lotus feet is called Padasevanam. Lotus feet is called Padasevanam. When one is particularly adherent to the process of Padasevanam, this process gradually includes other processes, such as seeing the form of the Lord, touching the form of the Lord, circumambulating of the form of a temple of the Lord, visiting such places as Jagannath Puri, Dwaraka, Madhura to see the Lord's form, and bathing in the Ganges or Yamuna. Bathing in the Ganges and serving a pure Vaishnava are also known as Tadiya Upasanam. Tadiya Upasanam. This is also Padasevanam. The word Tadiya means in relationship with Lord, service to the Vaishnava. Tulasi, Ganges, and Yamuna are included in the Padasevanam. All this process of Padasevanam help one advance in spiritual life very quickly. Hare Krishna.
Correct. Thank you, Prabhuji. So there are 2 ways of Padasevanam. One is always thinking of the Lord's lotus feet, right? Always remembering Lord's lotus feet and thinking about it and worshipping it. That is one Padasevanam. That is you are serving the lotus feet of the Lord. The second Padasevanam is you are engaging your feet to the service of the Lord, like visiting dhams. You are using your feet to go to a temple. You're using your feet to circumambulate the temple premises. You're using your feet to circumambulate Tulsi Maharani, right? All these things are also Padasevanam. Using your feet to go to the dhams. So it's very clearly explained here that visiting dhams such as Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri, Dwaraka, Madhura, and to see the Lord's form, and also bathing in Ganga and Yamuna. That's also Padasevanam. So that's why once in a while we all should go for yatras, visit the dhams, engage your feet to go to the dham, engage your feet to go to the temple. That's also Padasevanam. Next one, Archanam. Can somebody read Archanam, please?
Hare Krishna. Can I read?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Archanam. After Padasevanam comes the process of Archanam, worshipping of the deity. If one is interested in the process of Archanam, one must positively take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and learn the process from him. There are many books for Archana, especially Narada Pancharatra. In this age, the Pancharatra system is particularly recommended for Archana, deity worship. There are 2 systems of Archana, the Bhagavata system and Pancharatrika system. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no recommendation of Pancharatrika worship because in this Kali Yuga, even without deity worship, everything can be perfectly performed. simply through hearing, chanting, remembering, and worship of the lotus feet of the Lord. Rupa Goswami says, Sri Vishnu Shravane Parikshit Abhavad Vaishashika Kirtane Prahalada Smarane Tad Angri Bhajane Lakshmi Pratuhu Pujane Akrurastva Abhivandane Api Patir Dasya Hata Sakya Arjuna Sarvaswatma Nivedane Balir Abhut Krishnapatir Esham Param. Parikshit Maharaj attained salvation simply by hearing, and Sukadeva Goswami attained salvation simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj attained salvation by remembering the Lord. The goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi attained perfection by worshipping the Lord's lotus feet. Prithu Maharaj attained salvation by worshipping the deity of the Lord. Akrura attained salvation by offering prayers. Hanuman by rendering service. Arjuna by establishing friendship with the Lord. And Bali Maharaj by offering everything to the service of the Lord. All these great devotees served the Lord according to a particular process, but every one of them attained salvation and became eligible to return home back to Godhead. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is therefore recommended that initiated devotees follow the principles of Narada Pancharatra by worshipping the deity in the temple, especially for a householder devotees who are opulent in material possessions. The path of deity worship is strongly recommended. An opulent householder devotee who does not engage his hard-earned money in the service of the Lord is called a miser. One should not engage paid brahmanas to worship the deities. If one does not personally worship the deity but engages paid servants instead, he is considered lazy, and his worship of the deity is called artificial. An opulent householder can collect luxurious paraphernalia for deity worship, and consequently, for householder devotees, the worship of deity is compulsory. In our Krishna conscious movement, there are brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis. But the deity worship in the temple should be performed especially by the householders. The brahmacharis can go with the sannyasis to preach, and vanaprasthas should prepare themselves for the next status of renounced life, sannyasa. Grihastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities, and therefore, if they do not take to the deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. Deity worship means following the rules and regulations precisely. It will keep one steady in devotional service. Generally, householders have children, and then the wives of the householders should be engaged in caring for the children, just as women acting as teachers care for the children in the nursery school.
Prabhuji, 1 second, Prabhuji. I want to just add a little bit here before we go. So, this part of the purport is talking about Archanam. So, after Pada Sevanam, Archanam comes, and then Archanam is worship of the deity, and deity worship is very thoroughly explained in this paragraph, and we should all pay attention to this. And Srila Prabhupada says, we should all, either grihasthas or whatever, wherever stage we are in, we should first take the shelter of the spiritual master, and then learn the process of Archanam from him. And especially in ISKCON, they follow the path of Narada Pancharatrika Vidhanam. And there are two ways of deity worship. One is Bhagavata and then Narada Pancharatrika. And in ISKCON, and then the Mangalarti we do is the process of Narada Pancharatrika. And Prabhupada also explains it is not explained in Bhagavatam that this process is because in Kali Yuga, right? Just by hearing and chanting and remembering the Lord, it's good enough. We don't really need to do deity worship. But if you are able to, if you have the time, if you have to make time to do it, and it is very important to do it, is what he says. So it's not recommended, but it's not mentioned in Bhagavatam, but it is clearly was told that the next step of the bhakti process is Archanam. And Prabhupada clearly explains that we should definitely get deities. All the grihasthas must have deities in their home. Get expensive paraphernalia and follow the Narada Pancharatrika at your home to do the deity worship. It's very, very important. And here in this shloka, Rupa Goswami explains who are the people who have attained perfection in each of the 9 processes of bhakti. Parikshit Maharaj, Shravanam. Sukadeva Goswami, Kirtanam. Prahlad Maharaj, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right? And then Lakshmi attained perfection by worshipping the Lord, that is Archanam. And then slow on, Prithu Maharaj, and then Akrura, Hanuman, Arjuna, and finally Bali Maharaj with Atmanivedan. He completely surrendered to the Lord and said, do whatever you want, I'm completely surrendering my mind, body, soul, and everything to you. So these are all the people how they have attained perfection. And in this paragraph, Prabhupada explains that every householder who have opulent in material possessions, deity worship is strongly recommended. And he says who have the facility, who has the money, who can engage in deity worship and not do it is a miser, Kripana. And Prabhupada also says, do not engage Brahmanas in doing that. You should do yourself, right? If you can, you should do yourself. Like the Nitya Puja and everything, you should do all by yourself. Even some people engage, Brahmanas to do the deity worship at your home. He says, Prabhupada says no to that. He says, if you do that, you are lazy, and you should do it yourself by following the process, learning from other pure devotees who are doing that. And in this paragraph, he also explains, Prabhupada also explains that sannyasis and brahmachari should go for preaching, and deity worship in the temple also should be taken up by grahasthas. That's what he says. And the Matajis at home should take care of the children. It's very clearly explained here. So all the grahasthas, I humbly request whoever have not gotten the deities, please talk to Leelanand Prabhu and get to the stage of deity worship. And it gives you a different way of thinking of the bhakti process, and you will get to serve the Lord in the form of deities by doing arati every day, by offering bhoga in the morning, afternoon, whenever you cook something, and then the right times, regular times, you get to decorate the deities with ornaments and clothes. So you get you get engaged, and then you get more love of the Lord. Just like your children, right? That awakens more bhakti in you. So please, think about deity worship and getting deities to your home if you already don't have them. Prabhuji, you can. Anybody else can read the next paragraph, please. Next two paragraph, maybe. Grahastha devotees, that paragraph.
I can read.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Grihastha devotees must adopt the Archana Vidhi or deity worship according to the suitable arrangements and the directions given by the spiritual master. Regarding those unable to take the deity worship in the temple, there is a following statement in the Agni Purana. Any householder devotee circumstantially unable to worship the deity must at least see the deity worship, and in this way he may achieve success also. The special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. Grihastha devotees should be actual examples of cleanliness. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yeah, continue, Prabhu, please.
Deity worship should be continued along with hearing and chanting. Therefore, every mantra is preceded by the word Namaha. In all mantras, there are specific potencies of which Grihastha devotee must take advantage. There are many mantras preceded by the word Namaha, but if one chants the holy name of the Lord, he receives the result of chanting Namaha many times. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can reach the platform of love of Godhead. One might ask, then what is the necessity of being initiated? The answer is that even though the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to enable one to progress in the spiritual life to the standard of love of the Godhead, one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination because of possessing a material body. Consequently, special stress is given to the Archana Vidhi. One should therefore regularly take advantage of both the Bhagavata process and
Pancharatmika
process. Yeah.
Prabhuji, you can
yeah.
You can read the next two paragraphs.
Sure, Prabhuji. Deity worship has two divisions, namely pure and mixed with fruitive activities. For one who is study, deity worship is compulsory. Observing the various types of festivals such as Sri Janmashtami, Ramanavami, and Kusuma Chaturthi is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it is compulsory for a householder devotees to observe these festivals. Now let us discuss the offenses in deity worship.
One
The
second,
following-
Prabhupada, before you go there, I just want to add here. So Prabhupada again emphasizes on two things. One, if you can get the deities and do deity worship. If we cannot, he is telling at least observe the deity worship that is done. And it is mentioned that we should all, as devotees, observe all the festivals like Ramnavami, Narasimha Chaturdashi, and everything. And there are specific deity worship that on that day maybe we can do Abhishekam, Pushpa Abhishekam, or other Abhishekams we should do. And these festivals, all of us have to compulsorily observe and do deity worship. It's very important, is what is told. And now Prabhupada talks about the offenses while doing deity worship. This is very important. And as it is told before, deity worship makes us clean and pure. So these are all the things we should really observe while deity worship. Please go ahead, Prabhupada.
Now let us discuss the offenses in the deity worship. The following are offenses. Enter to the temple with shoes are being carried on palanquin. Not to observe the prescribed festivals. See, to avoid offering obeisances in front of the deity. D, to offer prayers in an unclean state, not having washed one's hands after eating. To offer obeisances with one hand. To circumambulate directly in front of the deity. To spread one's legs before the deity. To sit before the deity while holding one's ankles with one's hand. To lie down before the deity. To eat before the deity. Next, this to speak before the deity. To speak lies before the deity. To address someone loudly before the deity. To talk nonsense before the deity. To cry before the deity. To argue before the deity. To chaste someone before the deity. So to show someone's favor before the deity. To use harsh words before the deity. To wear a woolen blanket before the deity. To blaspheme someone before the deity. To worship someone else before the deity. To use vulgar language before the deity. And to pass air before the deity. To avoid very opulent worship of the deity, even though one is not able to perform it. To avoid very opulent worship of the deity, even though one is able to perform it. To eat something not offered to the deity. To avoid offering fresh fruits to the deity according to the season. To offer food to the deity which has already been used or from which has been given to the others. In other words, food should not be distributed to anyone else until it has been offered to the deity. To sit with one's back towards the deity. To offer obeisances someone else in front of the deity. Not to chant proper prayers when offered obeisances to the spiritual master. To praise oneself before the deity. And to blaspheme the demigods. In the worship of the deity, these 32 offenses should be avoided.
Very bold, very bold. So look at the detail, Prabhuji's Mataji's, and what are all things you should not do in the deity. So important. Guard against these offenses is very, very important. Many of them we know. We don't go in with shoes and all this stuff inside the temple. But some other things probably, I don't know some other things. So we should not talk loudly, or also we should not pay obeisance to other devotees in front of the Lord. Like in the temple, if you see somebody else, like some other Prabhuji, you should not pay obeisance to them. Only when the door is closed or maybe somewhere else you should do it. That's another thing we should think. And we should always talk softly, no lies, very clean. You should be. Always offer food to Lord and then distribute, and then even if you can, and that means you can opulently bring nice flowers every day, or fresh fruits in the season. And if you're not doing it, that's also an offense. So make sure that when we offer nice things. And if you can offer things in a nice, silver plate, you should offer it and not use plastic plates and all those things. using appliances, in the service of the Lord. That's very important. So all these things I think all of you know, but it's a reminder to all of us to continue practicing those. So okay, let's go to the next. So this is one set of offenses. There's more set of offenses that are coming from Varaha Purana. Let's read those. Somebody else can read these. Next paragraph.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, please, Prabhuji. Read.
In the Varaha Purana, the following offenses are mentioned: to eat in the house of a rich man, to enter the deity's room in the dark, to worship the deity without following the regulative principles, to enter the temple without vibrating any sound, to collect food that has been seen by a dog, to break silence while offering worship to the deity, to go to the toilet during the time of worshipping of the deity, to offer incense without offering flowers, to worship the deity with forbidden flowers, to begin worship without having washed one's teeth, to begin worship after sex, to touch a lamp, dead body, or a woman during her menstrual period, or to put on red or bluish clothing, unwashed clothing, or the clothing of others, or soiled clothing. Other offenses are to worship the deity after seeing a dead body, to pass air before the deity, to show anger before the deity, and to worship the deity just after returning from a crematorium. After eating, one should not worship the deity until one has digested his food. Nor should one touch the deity or engage in a deity worship after eating safflower oil or hinge. These are also offenses.
Hare Krishna. Giriraj Prabhu, probably you can tell more about these offenses because you are, do the, worship of the Lord. Maybe you can add something, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Acharya specifically mentioned means we are all pujaris they strictly follow, Prabhuji. That's where there are two things, Prabhuji, in our clothes also. Once we wear means it's a muchi clothes, contaminated. That's where when we do worship, it's a washed clothes. We have to take bath and take Achamana and enter into the temple. And Vaishnava Achamana is a elaborated one, right? Which it's mentioned in the same Pancharatrika Vidhi as Narada Muni, right? So we follow the strict regulations over there.
Yes,
they
yes.
won't allow. I mean, pujaris are strict in this cleanliness. So,
yes, Prabhuji. We should be. Actually, that's right. Even at home, we should follow as much as possible. Like, it says, don't enter the deity, the room without making any sound. That means you always have to make, knock the door, or if you have a door and you use the bell, right? You always should do that. That's also important. Yes.
Correct. One more thing, Prabhuji, that whenever whoever performs deity worship, they won't even take water also. Before taking bath, they take water, and after taking bath, that's it. And and then performing worship.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, that's right. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So this is so detailedly explained here by Prabhupada. He knows that we all need these instructions. Can somebody else read the next two paragraphs, maybe?
Prabhuji, before going to the next one, so the first one is like, to eat in the van of a rich house, like, what is that exactly? Like, why is it an offense to eat in the house of a rich man?
So Prabhuji, I'm doing interpretation. Maybe Giriraj Prabhu, maybe you can add here, but I'm thinking like, that's like you are engaging your senses too much into really, having opulent food and, those kind of things. But I don't know much about this, Prabhuji. So it's Varaha Purana. I have not known. Giriraj Prabhu, you know anything about this first one? The first offense says to eat in the house of a rich man. It says it's an offense. It says.
Okay, okay. The house of a rich man. See, the context is different, Prabhuji. We never know. Some rich men they don't follow any regulations, or just invite for the sake of to get the activity. So in that way, but if you see in Prabhupada's interactions with devotees, he went to different rich personalities' home and take prasada. But the consciousness of the people is important here. the rich man's. That way we can understand, Prabhuji. It's not like what do we say? Again, see again, when somebody invites means they have some pure intention is there.
Yeah.
In that context, Prabhupada also went to some aristocratic families, and that way they get that way they get interested in the process of bhakti. That way the interaction gives to start their devotional life. That way we can understand, Prabhu. Just want to add.
Correct. And also, Prabhuji, in the nectar of instruction, it is mentioned, right? Atyahara prayasascha. In the name of prasadam, we should also not indulge in eating rich and opulent. That again, you are indulging your tongue and mind into your senses into eating,
Eating more.
So that's also one more thing, Prabhuji. So the reason why they tell you avoid such things is that you are more indulged in your sense gratification, and not just prasadam. Prasadam means just like whatever nourishes your body, you take the prasadam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's
Okay. Can somebody read the next paragraph?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In other places, the following offenses are listed: to be against the scriptural injunctions of Vedic literature, or to disrespect with one's heart the Srimad Bhagavatam while externally falsely accepting its principles, to introduce differing sastras, to chew pan and betel before the deity, to keep flowers for worship on the leaf of a castor oil plant, to worship the deity in the afternoon, to sit on the altar or to sit on the floor to worship the deity without a seat, to touch the deity with the left hand while bathing the deity, to worship the deity with a stale or used flower, to spit while worshipping the deity, to advertise one's glory while worshipping the deity, to apply tilaka to one's forehead in a curved way, to enter the temple without having washed one's feet, to offer the deity food cooked by an uninitiated person, to worship the deity and offer bhoga to the deity within the vision of an uninitiated person or non-Vaishnava, to offer worship to the deity without worshipping Vaikuntha deities like Ganesha, to worship the deity while perspiring, to refuse flowers offered to the deity, to take a vow or oath in the holy name of the Lord.
Hare Krishna. So that's why all our temples have pumps where you can wash your hands and feet. That's very important. It says like first thing you should do is wash hands and feet before you enter any temple. That's one thing. And the other things I'm observing here is you should never use used flowers or used clothes. And you should never refuse the flowers offered to deity, right? If somebody gives you flowers or a garland, you should never refuse it. That's also an offense. So that's why we should accept it as a prasadam and smell it. And that's very, very important. So many things. And then I'm seeing this, they apply tilak in a curved way. So it's very, we should all know and learn how to put tilak in the straight form. Very important to learn that. That's also an offense, it seems. Okay. Let's go to the, so we have already it's 8:55. So I will fast forward this and let's finish these 6, 7, and 8 and 9 before we end the class. So let's go to Vandanam. Can somebody read the Vandanam?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, please continue.
Vandanam. Although prayers are a part of deity worship, they may be considered separately like the other items, such as hearing and chanting, and therefore separate statements are given herewith. The Lord has unlimited transcendental qualities and opulences, and one who feels influenced by the Lord's qualities in various activities offers prayers to the Lord. In this way, he becomes successful. In his connection, the following are some of the offenses to be avoided: to offer obeisances on one hand, to offer obeisances with one's body covered, to show one's back to the deity, to offer obeisances on the left side of the deity, to offer obeisances very near the deity,
So it's very important, right? You know, some people put like salam like this, or like, you know, like this, like this. That's also very bad. He says, like, you know, offer obeisance with hands and do dandavat whenever we go to the temple, complete dandavat, and never show the back to the deity, and never obeisances on the left side. You should always go from the from here and then show, and then show your left to the deity. That means your heart should be on the left side, so that when you pay obeisances, that's important. You see the temple, right? You go and people fall flat on the left side. That's, you should never go on the other side. So that's also important. You should follow those regulations. Next paragraph, Dasyam.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Dasyam. There is the following statement in regard to assisting the Lord as a servant. After many, many thousands of births, when one comes to understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, one can deliver others from this universe. If one simply continues to think that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, even without performing any other process of devotional service, he can attain full success. For simply by this feeling, one can perform all 9 processes of devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Dasyam is the almost topmost item of serving Krishna as his servant, eternal servant, always thinking about him as an eternal servant. And only after many, many thousands of births, one will come to this conclusion, or like, this understanding. Sakhyam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, Prabhuji, please read.
Yeah. Sakhyam. In regard to worshipping the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that the devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Sravanam and Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Elsewhere there is a statement, "O my Lord, Supreme Personality and Eternal Friend, although you are full of bliss and knowledge, you have become the friend of the residents of Vrindavana. How fortunate are these devotees." In this statement, the word friend is specifically used to indicate intense love. Friendship, therefore, is better than servitude. In the stage above Dasyaras, the devotee accepts the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a friend. This is not at all astonishing, for when a devotee is pure in heart, the opulence of his worshipping of the deity diminishes as spontaneous love for the personality of Godhead is manifested. In this regard, Sridhara Swami mentions Sridhama Vipra, who expressed to himself his feeling of obligation, thinking, life after life, may I be connected with Krishna in this friendly attitude. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Sakhyam is next to Dasyam. Like once you feel that you are a servant of the Lord, the next stage is Sakhyam. That means you are feeling that you are Krishna is your friend, and that is only possible, especially when the Bhagavatam we read is only possible for the Vrajvasis, the residents of Vrindavan. And everybody thinks, how fortunate are these Vrajvasis? All the people in Vraj are thinking Krishna is Kanha, is my friend. All his friends in his when he goes for cow grazing, all his friends, they're eating chuta, they're eating curd rice that is eaten by everybody. That is the highest of all. After Dasyam, that is you are thinking about him as a friend, and the love, that is affection that is coming from you is the friend, the Dasyarasa is coming, and they accept the Supreme Personality of God as a friend, and God also gives that kind of benediction that be born as his friend, and all the Vrajvasis, Arjuna, all of them experiences this Sakya Rasa. And Sudama Viprama, and then Sridhama Vipra said, that life after life, that's all I want. I want to be connected to Krishna only as his friend. The final, but not least, Atmanivedanam. Can somebody read the Atmanivedanam?
Can Sukirti read, Prabhu?
Oh, sure. Why not? Please.
Atmanivedanam. The word Atmanivedanam refers to the stage at which one who has no motive other than to serve the Lord surrenders everything to the Lord and performs his activities only to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee is like a cow that is cared for by its master. When cared for by its master, a cow is not in anxiety over its maintenance. Such a cow is always devoted to its master, and it never acts independently, but only for the master's benefit. Some devotees therefore consider dedication of the body to the Lord to the Atma Nivedanam. And as stated in the book known as Bhakti Viveka, sometimes dedication of the soul to the Lord is called Atma Nivedanam. The best examples of Atma Nivedanam are found in Bali Maharaja and Ambarish Maharaja. Atma Nivedanam is also sometimes found in the behavior of Rukmini Devi at Dwaraka.
Very bold. So the topmost step, so the ladder of the bhakti process is Atma Nivedanam. That means you are completely surrendering your soul and body both to Krishna, just like a cow surrenders to his master. And surrender means completely getting rid of independence and completely depending on your master. Everything you depend on the master, and you never worry about anything or no anxiety. And for perfect examples of Atma Nivedanam are Bali Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, and also Rukmini Devi in Dwaraka. So with that, we'll stop here. There are more shlokas. I will continue in the next classes if I'm given an opportunity. But this is, I thought this purport is very important. And when I read it, I thought we should all read it together and contemplate on it. That's why I made sure everybody read it. So thank you very much for joining today and reading this these two verses. Any comments, supporting comments, or like, you know, any questions, any other things, please, you can tell.
Prabhuji, it's a wonderful 9 Nav Bhakti Vidhanam. We should have done long back, but I guess Krishna is storing it for Damodar month, basically. You know?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
For Praveen Prabhu.
Yeah, I read it once and I didn't pay that much attention. But yesterday when I was reading, because this shloka came, I thought, wow, this is like, you know, so nicely, elaborately explained by Prabhupada, and we should all know about these processes. And I thought we should all read it together. So, all mercy of.
And it's very happy to hear from your pure devotee. Thank you.
No pure devotee, but it's all studied together. I don't know anything.
But very good, Prabhu. We read together complete verse. See how beautiful the Prabhupada's mercy comes in a form of his purports and realizations.
Yes,
you know how he is writing, quoting all the various scriptures, and this is the correct education. This is correct culture. He's invincing us.
100%, Prabhu. So that's why, you know, everybody, in my opinion, should start reading Bhagavatam if I are not, because every purport is unique. Every purport has so much inner meaning. Every purport has so much elaboration. And he's, you know, teaching like somebody who teaches a small kid how to walk and how to crawl, how to, you know, do the day-to-day things. They're all like, you know, so nicely, affectionately, lovingly, Prabhupada explains, as if he's sitting next to us and explaining, right? Every purport is like that. So I strongly recommend everybody who has not got Bhagavatam set, please get it immediately in the auspicious month of Damodara Kartik month, and then start reading, you know, and that's very important. This is the only way out. Prabhuji Mataji says, Prahlad Maharaj says, this is the perfect canto, perfect chapter to also read. Gruhamanda Kupam, we're all in the Kupam, including myself and everybody. The only way to get out is to awaken the bhakti and prema for Krishna. And Navavidha Bhakti is the stepping ladder. For us, it's a ladder. It's a stepping stone for us. Please read, chant, hear, do kirtans, and be in associations. So very important. Eat prasadam. Any other comments, questions before we close? And let's all pray for His Grace Namkesha Prabhu every day for his betterment, and you know, so that we can all see him in our satsang. So with that, I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your time today. I took a little bit more time because I thought it's very important. Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you.
Mandar Pranam, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Vancha Kalpataru.
Krapa Sindhu Patitanam. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai.
Shila Gurudev ki Jai.
Shila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji Mataji.